Okay. Good morning. That was some good yoga. My back hurts, but I feel good. So it's my first talk ever. Guys, don't judge me. But you can go ahead and title this "Selling Sets" or "Keys to Selling Sets." Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about, or the first key, is showing up early and what you do with that time when you are early. So Austin knows what I do when I'm there early. I like to read my notes, and I actually have my notes with me. So this is like my little vector book of all the notes I've ever taken. Got two of them because the staples wouldn't go through just one page or the one set. And I just go through, and whenever I feel like I need help on, I'll go and I'll read. So like my favorite notes are actually notes by Tracy Thomas on how to sell 90% of the time. The reason I chose these notes is because they talk about mindset, and mindset is really important when you go into an appointment. I like to do a little research about the family before I go in, about my customer, about the client. So I'll try to figure out how many kids this person have, guesstimate how often they're cooking, if the kids are doing activities, is she married, is she not, and all that matters because when you figure out those types of things, you can figure out, okay, what kind of set best fits this person, and it helps you get in the mindset to sell that set. You start thinking about the set, the pieces in the set, how are the pieces going to relate to their life, and those are all things we'll talk about further on. But so that's why it's important to read your notes, get your confidence up, pick up your conviction in Cutco. Think of little tactics and things like that you may not have thought about or you may have forgotten that and it'll just remind you of those things. So it's important. Okay. After that, the next most important part is building rapport. So I like to use LinkedIn before the appointment. I'll find my customer or client's name, go to LinkedIn. I'll figure out what their job is currently, their past job history, whether or not they're employed right now at all. The different activities, if they put hobbies on there, sometimes people will put those on their LinkedIn. It also tells you like skills that they have, um, or skills they think they have anyway, and it'll tell you certain things if they've got recommendations from other people on their LinkedIn. You'll get to read excerpts of what other people have thought about that person, and so that's always helpful to kind of get into the mindset of how your customer operates, and that helps in the appointment. After that, and it helps, but it's not key to use LinkedIn when you walk into the person's house, and this is also something Tracy talked about. I don't know what it's okay. When you walk into the person's house, look around. So I like to look around and see, is this person a functional? Is their house functional or is it fashionable? If they've got a fashionable house, it's probably spacious. They've got all different colored carpets, all different kinds of color coordination going on, fancy stuff. Or is it going to be functional? Is it just a basic house, basic sofa? And that's going to tell you how to pitch your set to the person. If they've got a really feng shui, fancy, fashionable house, then you know you're going to key in on the aesthetic aspects of Cutco. How good is this cherry block going to look with your cherry cabinets and the pearl handles that are unique that, most knives don't come with, most high quality knives don't come with a pearl handle. And if you approach it, someone with a fashionable house at that brain wavelength, whatever you want to call it, you'll be successful. On the other hand, if they've got a functional house and they're a functional person, like I went to see some engineers the other day and Austin was on that appointment, all the fashionable aspects of it meant nothing to them. It was all about, the 448 high carbon surgical stainless steel and how long that was going to last. And we talked about the double D edge and how it worked and why it worked, all those things, and that's what keyed it in for them. Okay, so just understanding that, looking at their house and figuring out, okay, how does this person work? After that, talking to them, right? That's the obvious thing. When you sit down, you ask your customer questions. One I almost always lead off with is, do you like to cook or do you cook because you have to? Or do you love to cook or do you cook because you have to? And that's an important question too, because it's going to teach you how else you can get to what the value of Cutco is going to be for that person. If they love to cook, you're going to talk about how much more awesome their cooking experience is going to be with Cutco, with those high quality knives, all the different things they can do. If they cook because they have to, then you're going to talk about how Cutco is going to save them time, how Cutco is going to save them lots of money, and then talk about what they can do with that time. And then even talk about Cutco being such a good product that it might even help them start to enjoy the cooking process at a certain level. Okay. Let's see. Oh, now during the appointment, you're also going to want to build rapport. Don't be all chit chatty and nice, before you start talking business. And as soon as you open your blue book, go to, just to reading your manual, which you should do, and showing pictures. You have to be personable the whole way through. Okay. Now, one way to do that is to use your goal sheet. So I'm actually going to show you guys mine. Have you guys done your goal sheets yet? Good. So for the camera, it's my goal sheet. Your goal sheet is important. Customers love to know what you're up to. A lot of sales is selling yourself on top of the product. People want to like you and the product that you're selling. That's how you sell more of it. And your goal sheet's how you do it. So I like to talk about having my own apartment. Especially at our age, they want to see that you're trying to be independent, right? I talk about wanting to pay for college, help pay for college, to stay debt-free. That's something that most customers can relate to, especially if they have kids. They really like the fact that you're trying to not burden your parents like they feel like they're going to be burdened, and that's something that they'll always identify with. Um, I talk about I want to run a vector office, so they like to see ambition. And those are my goals. You definitely want to use your goals. Don't just steal mine because they sound good. Make something that works for you. And then my last one is to become exceptional. But I always use my goal sheet. I draw little pictures on my thermometer. That's me right there. Some fireworks for the Vegas sign. It says Vegas baby. Got money. Only like $3 signs because I don't have that much money floating in the air, making it drizzle. Okay. There we are. Okay, number 4, renaming the sets. So this is where selling sets comes into play. After you've personalized yourself with your customer, you've attached yourself to their kids. They feel like they can see a little bit of their kids in you. So if they've got activities like I play basketball, Austin plays soccer, Dustin has some hobbies as well. Actually, he's a vegan. He plays tennis and he's a vegan, right, or a vegetarian rather. So all of those things, if they have kids that fall into those same characteristics, a kid that plays soccer, a kid that plays tennis, if they're vegetarian, definitely connect yourself to the customer as well. You want to build as many links, as many bridges as possible between you and the customer. Okay. Now, renaming the sets. Back on track. So when it comes to selling sets, you definitely want to rename them. That ultimate set, you've heard Ryan Casey say, call it the complete set. So that way the customer feels like it's the complete product. You don't want to call it the ultimate, then they feel like it's something they don't actually need. It's complete, just because it is. It's our complete set. After that, we call it the family set. And the signature set is the family set. So it's the homemaker plus the 3 most requested knives. And what that was is all the housewives and house dads who were doing all the cooking got the homemaker set, realized that there were some key things they needed. We added on those 3 pieces, and now it's the family set. And that's why I like to sell it to families, and I feel like it should be the set that sells the most often, and I predict in like the next possibly 5 to 10 years, it will be the set that sells the most often because it is ideal. The family set that we're talking about right now and the basic set, that homemaker that we'll talk about later, I feel like are the best deals. The most bang for your buck for Cutco, and that family set honestly is the most useful for families. So make sure you pitch it that way. And then the basic set. We call it the basic set because it is our most basic complete set, right? You're going to have all the different knives that you need, from a butcher knife all the way down to your paring knife. And when you call it the basic, the customer feels like there are no options below that. And of course there are, but when it comes to getting the best value out of Cutco, there really isn't. That is the bottom line, in my opinion, best value set out of Cutco. So call it the basic. Okay. And then make sure you're using those terms throughout the presentation. I never call the homemaker during your presentation. Always call it the basic. Okay. All right, now be knowledgeable and be comfortable. A big part to sales and a big key to sales is being knowledgeable. I've memorized my training manual. I still use it. I use it as a reference, but I've memorized it, and there's a reason why. People want to have a conversation with you. They don't want to be sold. They'd much rather you help them figure out what it is that they need, and then talk to them about why they might need other pieces to get them to a basic or a family set, as opposed to you just reading off information about the basic or the family set or the complete set or anything like that. And that's where being knowledgeable and being comfortable comes into play. You've got to feel at home in their home, because at the end of the day, they've got to feel like the knives that you're selling them are knives that they're going to be using every day. And if they were in your home, they would expect you to have the same thing that they're trying to sell to you, right? So you want to feel at home with them, be comfortable. After that, where are we? 6. Okay, patience. Cannot stress patience enough. I've heard stories of some reps who, as soon as the customer gets quiet after they try to make their first trial close or anything like that, or even if they're explaining a piece, if the customer gets quiet, they'll just speed through. And that's never good. The customer's thinking. Everyone doesn't think at the same speed, and they're probably thinking about 9,000 different things that you as a rep don't have to think about because they have kids and jobs and insurance and taxes and everything else they have to pay for. So they're always going to take longer to think about certain things. So you want to make sure you're leaving time for them to think about those things. I recently I was on an appointment where during the awkward silence, the first thing he said was, "I'm glad you finished. I've been waiting to tell you, hell no, I'm not going to buy anything." Then he stopped. Now, if I had just given up and packed up because he said that, that would have been it. That would have been a no sale. But I sat there and I waited, and the husband and the wife talked after about 5 to 6 seconds of no one saying anything, and then at the end of that appointment, they got a homemaker. And now that's an extreme example, but it's an example nonetheless. It happened like 4 days ago. You always want to be patient. You want to give them a chance to think, and give yourself a fighting chance to make the sale at the end of the day. If you rush them, it's too big of an expense to just rush someone into buying. You've got to give them time. Interact with their kids. Okay. Now, if they have kids at home during the appointment, you definitely want to bring them into the appointment. You want to feel the knife is going to help the whole family, and you want them to feel like you're a family person trying to help their family, not just a college kid trying to make a quick buck. So interacting with their kids, that goes back to connecting with their kids, like connecting yourself with their kids rather in the customer's mind, but interacting with those kids is going to further cement that connection that you tried to make when you were building rapport in the first place. Customers love to see that. They want to see someone that's a family man or a family rep. Okay, and that goes into connecting the pieces to their everyday life. Okay, when you're going through in here, actually open up your blue books if you have them. I'll show you mine. Doesn't really matter. So when you get to your pieces, you want to connect each piece to their everyday life. And this is where building that rapport comes into play, and using LinkedIn comes into play. Like I said, I like to look at LinkedIn because you can kind of guesstimate how much time your customer actually has in their day. If they've got 3 kids and they're an executive assistant or an executive vice president at a company, you can probably guess they don't have that much time to cook meals and things like that. If they're doing it, they need to move quickly and things of that nature, right? So when you're going through your pieces, you're going to talk about, oh, Mrs. Jones, our spatula spreader is the ultimate sandwich making machine. You can make a sandwich in like 20 seconds. Oh, Mrs. Jones, the butcher knife is the money saver and time protector of the set. Did you know you could disjoint a whole chicken in like 20 seconds, right? 25 seconds, whatever it is. And when you start talking about those things, they'll love you for that. They'll start to realize, oh, I'm going to have more time to do things because Cutco is going to make my life easier. It's going to make the cooking experience faster, right? And if there's someone that loves to cook, or someone that's cooking every day, a customer yesterday cooks 3 meals a day every single day, right? So obviously Cutco is an easy sale for them. It's just a matter of going through the pieces and saying, okay, now, and she did a lot of chicken, so the butcher knife was great for her. Mrs. Jones, you're going to be able to disjoint a lot of chickens with this. She ate organic, and she saved a lot of money that way. They were also big vegetable salad people, so I sold her the slicer on the fact that she'd be able to buy whole heads of lettuce and whole heads of cabbage. It's about knowing all the different uses. That's where being knowledgeable comes into play, of all the knives that you have, and then deciding, okay, this is what you're doing in your life. This is what the customer's doing in their life. This is the types of things they're cooking. This is how much time they have. Now, how do the uses of these individual knives fit their lifestyle? And I guarantee you it does, especially when you get from the basic set and higher. Every set is going to make their life better. It's just about framing it in a way that makes them understand the value of Cutco to them. And that's important. It's not about the value of Cutco, but it's about the value of Cutco to the customer. Okay. 9. Okay. Third person stories, aka social proofing. So all the people that you see should be referrals, because that's how it works. We don't do cold calling or anything like that. So social proofing is going to be key, especially if you got a sale from the last person that referred you. Just tell them what the last person got, and then tell them why. So you say, Miss Jones, Mrs. Hathaway got the homemaker set because it had the basic set rather, because it had 8 table knives, and there were 4 of her. She often invites her friends over and things like that, and she wanted everyone to have fancy table knives instead of somebody having the good table knives and someone having a plastic table knife. Plus, she really liked that butcher knife, and it didn't come in any of the other sets, and she thought she'd use the trimmer, so she got the basic set. And if they're friends with that person, and they, especially our HM3s, if a family's an HM3, they probably know other HM3s, and that's how they got recommended. Their kids probably play together and things like that. They'll have similar lifestyles, which means they'll probably find similar uses or similar value out of a set. Not all the time, every customer is different, but it's good to start thinking along those lines because a lot of the time it's going to be true. So definitely social proving, even if the customer doesn't know the other person that you're going to talk about. So you say, "I'm Mrs. Jones. I know you don't know Miss Caraway, but she went ahead and she got this set and she loved it. This was her favorite tool out of the set." Just they know it's your job to say that these knives are the best knives ever, and they're so useful. This, that, and the other. But talking about other people loving Cutco will help them, especially if you have, what do we call them? The notes. If you have your customers write testimonials. I don't have any testimonials. I wish I did, but testimonials would also help a lot. Okay, 10. All right, now matching. You want to be able to match the knife color, the block color, and set usage to the client's kitchen and everyday lifestyle. So we talked about matching the knives to what it is the customer's doing in the kitchen every day and how it's going to make their life easier. But what else? Another thing you want to do during your appointment, when you're asking your customer, "Oh, would you prefer the cherry block or the regular oak finish or the honey oak finish, or would you prefer classic or would you prefer pearl?" There's two ways you can do it. You can say, "Now, Mrs. Jones, I think you love this cherry block right here because it matches your cherry cabinets." Or you can ask her, let her answer, and just agree, saying, so if she says she wants cherry, and you say, "Mrs. Jones, that's a great choice. I think this cherry block will go great with your cabinets, and the pearl handles that you chose go great with the granite countertops that you have." Making them feel good about the purchase, and then tying the purchase into the kitchen that they already have, so that it's like they already own it basically, and they can see how great it would be to own it is important. It's like closing the sale before you even get to the part of the demonstration when you have to close your sale. Okay, now, any questions? Going too fast, too slow?
Okay.
Good, fantastic. Okay, jokes. So I love to tell jokes during my presentation. I've got a joke for not every knife, but a lot of them. Some of my favorite ones are, and ones that really work customers like, are the spatula spreader one. No, there's no spatula spreader up here. It's dirty. But so when you pull out the spatula spreader and you tell them, "Oh, Mrs. Jones, did you know?" and you hand it to them, you can actually see the next Cutco customer in the reflection. It's corny. I know you guys think it's corny, and the customer will think it's corny too. But it's the kind of corny that works. They always laugh. You always get a little chuckle out of it, and then they start to think along that wavelength of, maybe I could be the next Cutco customer, and man, isn't this shiny? I look good today. That's what they're thinking in the reflection, and you want them to think along those lines. Okay, and then their jokes. So sometimes if you start to tell jokes, customers will also tell jokes. Sometimes they're funny, usually they're not, but always laugh. Always laugh. You can either laugh at them or laugh with them. The customer doesn't have to know which one it is, but it's important that you laugh and you share in the atmosphere. Part of creating that selling atmosphere is making the customer feel comfortable, and they need to feel comfortable with you as well as the product. So that means enjoying what they enjoy, laughing at their jokes. Let's see what else. Now, know when to be serious and know when to have fun. And it's actually a perfect follow-up to the jokes. Jokes are important. They want to be relatable to you, but the customer also wants to know that you're about business. At the end of the day, they don't want to think that you're just some kid. They want to think that you're that kid. You're the kid that's going to make it, right? You're the kid that's working hard in college, that's got this job, and he's really hustling to try to, or she, whoever it is really hustling to try to make a difference in their own lives. So the jokes are great, but when it comes down to working out the numbers, when it comes down to talking about the uses and how it's going to actually affect the customer's life, you have to be serious. Be serious and be knowledgeable and be confident about your product. Okay, dress sharp. Now, on top of the customer feeling like you're not just a random kid as opposed to being the kid or that kid that's going to make it, right? Part of that is dressing sharp. You have to dress the part. I always wear a button down. Sometimes I wear jeans. If I wear jeans, I'm still going to wear dress shoes. A lot of the times I wear slacks and a dress shirt and a tie. Because presentation is important. There are going to be a lot of Cutco reps or Jordan door reps who won't wear a suit and tie, especially here in the Northwest. The Northwest is a really laid-back atmosphere, and if you want to set yourself apart, wear a suit, dress up. It makes a big difference. It does. Okay. Now, Oh, having fun. Okay. So have fun with the presentation itself, and also have fun with the names of the different products, right? So this one right here, the butcher knife. I also always call it the butcher knife. Um, but the next knife up is the cleaver, right? Now, I stole this from Ryan Casey, but I absolutely love it. And he calls the cleaver the big butter knife. Now, and he calls it the big butter knife because it cuts through anything like it's butter. And that's fantastic. But it paints a picture in the customer's head of exactly what that knife has to do without telling them, it's 448 high carbon surgical stainless steel. Because to them, unless they're like an engineering major or happen to know a lot about steel, that really didn't mean anything to them. So you want to make sure that the products and the terms that you're using, the terminology is relatable to the customer. And so that's why you want to have fun with the names. You want to rename the sets, do anything and everything to talk to make the customer understand what you're talking about. Because you can explain, for example, thermal resin handles. Um, I like to say that thermal resin is a material similar to what bowling balls or football helmets are made out of. And then I say, Mrs. Jones, are you a football fan? Here in the Northwest, Seahawks just won the championship, so 9 times out of 10 they're going to say yes. Okay, then you say, okay, so then you've seen Marshawn Lynch, get tackled and take some helmet-to-helmet contact before. And they're going to say, yeah, of course, yeah, I've seen Marshawn Lynch or I've seen Russell Wilson, whoever it is, whatever their favorite football team is. It doesn't matter. This is America. They've probably seen football. So you say, Miss Jones, have you ever seen a football helmet crack? The answer is no. So you say, Mrs. Jones, just like, the football helmet doesn't crack on helmet-to-helmet contact, you can drop your knife handles and be confident that they're also not going to crack or anything like that because, Marshawn Lynch's didn't crack, and I assure you that he gets hit a whole lot harder than you're going to drop your knives. And then the customer understands. Same thing with tang. When you're going through the construction of knives, don't just tell them what the tang is and that our knives offer a full tang. Tang sounds like a drink that you can get. In fact, Tang is a drink you can get. You mix it in with your water, right? So you definitely want to tell them that Tang is how far back the metal goes into the knife handle. Explain the benefits of Tang. When you're talking about the different features of their lives, of the knives, they don't care. What they care about is how it's going to affect their lives, not the knives, their lives. So if you can connect the uses and features of the knives to how it's going to make their life better, like I know I've been talking about a lot in this presentation, that is the key. That is the key. You're selling the Cutco experience, not Cutco. Okay. Now the last one I got a little star by it because I think it's cool and it's kind of like cheating. I call it the domino effect. So inevitably you're gonna have a customer that's just a toughie. They're either they're frugal or they don't like you because you smell funny that one day or whatever it is. They're not gonna like you. But if they've got kids or they've got a husband or anyone else that's sitting through the presentation with you, you're not out of the game yet. You can use the other customer. So all you really have to do is sell one person, even if it's a kid. The appointment I had yesterday, the lady, she cooked with her kids. Her kids were homeschooled. This is a lady who cooked 3 times a day every single day. She cooked with her kids, and different kids had different duties for meals. The younger kid did peeling. Another kid was in charge of chopping vegetables, and I don't know what she did. I think she just watched, and ate, which is a sweet deal. But so that's how it worked. So she wasn't entirely sold. She only wanted like 2 pieces. But the other kid that had to peel all the vegetables, well, she wanted the magic peeler because she had to peel the vegetables and she was tired of using the regular one. She saw the back and forward action, the super speed peeling, and she was sold, right? Another kid was an aspiring chef and she wanted to own a bakery one day. So they didn't make a lot of bread, but she had been talking about making more bread, and so she wanted the slicer, right? Then there was a third kid who just wanted some sandwiches because they like PBJ, and so she wanted the spatula spreader. But that got them up to a 5-piece order. And by the time we added up all the 5 pieces, she realized that she could get basically, and she had 2 more Cutco knives, by the way. That's important background information. She'd already bought 2 Cutco knives from another rep who didn't do a good job explaining things. She realized that she didn't have anywhere to put all the pieces that she now realized that she had to get because all of her kids wanted them, right? So she ended up having to move up to a galley block. Now, once she moved into a galley block and I added the price on for that, she realized how close she was to the homemaker. I showed her a couple of other pieces that would be useful to her, and she ended up getting a homemaker. Now, that happened because you didn't see that. Now, that happened because of the domino effect. I got to the kids wanted the magic peeler, the kids got to their mom, and then the mom had to pull out the wallet. Another appointment I went on, and this is probably one of my favorite ones, is a lady wanted a basic set. But she knew if she bought the basic set on her husband's card, the husband would be mad and blame her for it and say, why'd you get all these knives? So what she did, she picked out like 3 pieces. And then she told her husband that she bought the ultimate set. Now, of course, the husband had left the presentation 20 minutes into it. He didn't care. I don't think he wanted to get the sale. But as soon as she told him that she bought the ultimate set, he ran out and came back to the kitchen because, it's like $26.49. He wanted to know what was going on. Now, when he found out, because he had that price in his head, the $26.49. When he found out that his wife only got the 3 pieces and how close the price was to the basic, she started talking to him and eventually got him to get the basic with table knives in red. She went from having 3 pieces to a homemaker in red, all just because she knew how to work her husband a whole lot better than I did, right? And that's the beauty of the domino effect. When you're coming into customers' homes, you're not going to know what makes each customer tick. You haven't spent all that time with them, but their family members have. So if you can sell a smaller or a younger or another family member on pieces or a set, you can get them, you can almost employ them for free. You don't have to pay them. Employ them to get another person to go ahead and buy the set that they need, right? Because it's nothing but family members saying, oh, how much they would love to use this piece or how much this piece would make their lives better. And of course, the husbands or the dads, whoever's making that decision for the family, wants the family to be happy. So you just use happiness. And I call that the domino effect. Okay. Now, the last one. And this one's really important. Call Tracy. I cannot tell you how many times during an appointment I've gotten to the point where the customer is right on the edge and they say, well, if you can throw this in, then I think we'll have a deal. And it'll be like on a family set or a basic set. And I'm like, sweet, that's 1,000 CPO. Let's do it. But I add up the points and it's close, but it's not quite. Or I just have a question about, the customer wants the basic set, but they don't want the chef's knife. They want the hearty slicer instead. And they want to know if it's going to fit in their block. That's not something that you've covered during training. And some reps will not call into their manager and just say either they'll make something up and say they can do it, and then go back home when they try to roll and realize they can't give them all that free stuff, or that piece won't fit in the block, or whatever it is, and then they have to call the customer back, and it ends up being a no sale, and they feel bad and they feel dumb. If you call your manager on the appointment, you'll be surprised what kind of miracles they can work, especially when your manager's Tracy. So if it's just, giving you the confidence to say, Ms. Jones, I can give you this extra piece for free, and, it gets you your CPO. Or, Ms. Jones, you know what, the hearty slicer does fit in the spot of the chef's knife on your homemaker block, which is the one I had in the last appointment. Little things like that will take a no sale to a sale. And it's just as simple as calling your manager, who you should have on speed dial. I don't, but she's such a recent call that she's always in my recent call list. So it's right there. It's quick and it's easy. And your customers won't judge you for it. They'd much rather you tell them, you know what, Mrs. Jones, I think I can do it, but I'm not quite sure. So instead of telling you the wrong thing, let me call my manager and see what I can't work out for you. And call Tracy and have it done that way, then you just think you've got it all figured out. I mean, she's the manager for a reason, right? She knows the answers, so utilize that tool. I think in the Seattle office, Sean Yanis, a lot of people have Sean close their sales for them. They'll call in, have a question, and eventually if he gets to the point where it's just more effective for Sean to talk to the customer, he will. And sales get closed that way, so I think it's still recording. Yeah, it is.
Cool.
Yeah. And, but yeah, that's the most important thing. You're not alone in this. Your manager is always there. I think Tracy's only not picked up one time. But honestly, that's the key. I would say I'm at almost 10K in sales now, not because of me, but because I took all the notes that Tracy and Ryan Casey and Dan Cassetta and all the speakers at SE1 gave me. I took those notes, memorized that, I memorized the manual, and I call in my manager. That's it. It's not me. But if you do those basic things and use some of the tricks I told you right here, you should definitely be on your way to selling more sets, especially when you start to express the value of Cutco in sets as opposed to Cutco in pieces. Okay?
Very good.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Trey Jordan. Appreciate it.